morning, everyone. So we put this panel together. So the reason is AI go-to-market. If you turn on LinkedIn, we see a lot of content every single day. It's kind of hard to get the true candid feedback of what's really working. How do you drive adoption? And no adoption is like a straight line up. There's ups and downs, and how do you maneuver that? So that's why I asked this group of amazing UserGems customers to share their journey. And I promise you, it's not all rosy. You guys are already customers. This is not a pitch, as you can tell. This is truly just to facilitate this kind of conversation and learning together. So Mimecast has been a customer for, I think, like 4.5 years, right? And then Captivate, I think it's 2 or 3.
About 3. Yeah, about 3, yeah.
3, right? And then Frontify is brand new. So want to make sure that you can see a different kind of like mixture and journey that they had. So to start out with the first question is, if you guys can go back to the beginning of like implementing Gemmy, what was the real reactions from your reps, your team? We'll start from Kristen.
Okay, yeah. I have to admit, it was generally positive, but you know, BDRs are very proud, good BDRs are proud of their messaging and the work that they do. And so early on, there was some skepticism, particularly about the messaging. Thankfully, as we launched and you know, we dipped our toe, the prospects actually started replying and saying how good the messaging was, and that makes a BDR, SDR a believer. Regardless of what their leaders say, they will believe each other, and they'll believe customers or prospects. So thankfully, you know, the real reaction was positive. Also, prior to our BDR team really taking over and using Gemmy and UserGems, it was actually an AE solution at CaptivateIQ, and our BDRs wanted anything that our AEs had access to, so that also helped when we made the transition to making it a more BDR-led solution.
I'll go to Zoe first and then go to you, Alex. How about for you?
We had a mixed reaction. We have a really big BDR team, and some BDR leaders were all on board. They were like, this is great, let's try anything. We have a customer BDR team that said, we don't want anything to do with this. Like, do not touch our customers. And we recently launched our first play with them, so we got them on board eventually. But yeah, I would say a mixture of skepticism and then a few like very innovative BDRs were all about it.
All right, how about you, Alex?
We got UserGems not only for the messaging and the outreach, but also for account scoring. So the BDRs immediately saw the accounts that are now in my book of much better quality. I would say that we got, especially early on, quite a lot of feedback on not having quite the correct personas yet and the messaging, because that takes iteration. So the very first things that we did was really crack down on having the right seniority and personas, and then make more and more iterations to the messaging. And now they see the potential, and they are pumped whenever we do a big update.
Yeah. So as you can see, like everyone start out skeptical about like technology in general, right? So we'll go dive a little bit deeper on how you guys navigated that. So the next one is for Kristen. So you manage the BDR team and the inside sales team as well. So as a direct manager, what did you do to get reps to kind of like go through that journey, kind of give it a try? It sounds like a little bit peer pressure. AEs have it now, I want it too, but can you kind of break down that process of, you know?
Yeah, as mentioned, especially our enterprise BDR team and leader are very, they take a lot of pride in their messaging. They take a lot of pride in the work and the context that they put into their outreach. And so the first thing we did when we trialed Gemmy and the account scoring last year is we really narrowed the focus. I didn't say just use this, use AI, and like strong arm them. We did a few trial campaigns that were similar to what they were used to, right? So obviously champion tracking, they were already used to that with UserGems, so they had a lot of trust around that. And then our BDRs run a pretty good, albeit very manual close loss motion. So that was one of the starter campaigns that we did. And they were able to literally see the first day how much time it saved and how efficient they could be, but also how much better the outreach could be. And so that really pulled them in and engaged them. Once the first prospect replied and said, hey, I'm not the right person, but I'm replying because of how good this message is, then we had the alarm bells went off. They were really, skepticism very quickly went away. And we shared that. We pushed that broadly to our entire BDR team and to our ISRs, our SMB sellers as well. So we started doing that. We started shining a light on all of the successes, even if the success wasn't an open or generated opportunity, but prospects replying, getting referred to the right area within an account. We do a weekly kickoff, and so we inputted a shine a light and specifically called out some UserGems successes every Monday so that we could share really peer-to-peer what was working versus leader down. And that is when adoption started really flowing. And then the last thing to incorporate it into their workflows is we have my managers pull it up with their BDRs and one-on-ones. They sit side by side. We have the benefit or value of being hybrid, so they're able to do that. But sit side by side in one-on-ones, pull up UserGems, look at the signals, the account scoring, add their human level context because they have that, right? They really understand and know their accounts. But that then, it just became a flywheel from there. So I think those little things, starting small with what we knew would work, and then layering in that, shining a light, pushing out those positives, and then one-on-ones were the kind of the three core things.
I love that Monday updates for Jemmy wins. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of like on a flip end on Zoe. So you don't directly manage the BDR team. So how do you work with, get tactical and get real? How do you influence with authority, but not the platitude stuff like that?
Yes.
Actual day-to-day.
It's been quite a journey. I would say adoption has been not linear at all at our company. So like Kristen, we started with champions. BDRs love champion leads. And we said, okay, we want BDRs following up with 100% of our champion leads. So first we just tracked, are they following up, yes or no? And we saw about 50% of the leads we're getting followed up with on a given month. So we said, all right, let's give them 7 days to follow up with those leads. And if they don't, we'll automate and use Jemmy to automate outreach to the rest. And over time, we actually noticed BDRs were following up with fewer leads because they started to trust the Jemmy messaging more. They were picking the top leads that they wanted to follow up with and just left the rest for us. Eventually, we ultimately ended up just automating everything. So the second we get our champion leads, we just put them into an automated cadence. It includes automated emails and then BDR call steps. So they're still responsible for following up there. We saw adoption dip once we started using Jemmy for outbound prospecting. And I think the real challenge there was BDRs didn't know why we were reaching out to the people we were, and they didn't know why we were picking them. They really understood why we would go after a champion, but why go after an IT leader at this company that they haven't heard of? So it felt like a black box to them. And we've actually been working with Tony, so thanks Tony, to re-enable and reset up how we have UserGems set up for us. And we brought the BDR leaders into that process, which has helped a ton. So we recently ran a session to look at all of our keywords that we're tracking, all of the persona keywords, and really fine-tuned it. They took screenshots of the back end of UserGems, shared it with their teams to get feedback. And so now, if a BDR gets a bad lead, they aren't freaking out that we are sending them bad leads. They understood okay, the account was good, the title fit these keywords, we just need to adjust something on the back end a little bit. So high level, just bringing BDRs in and the BDR leaders in to the nitty gritty details of how everything's set up has helped build that trust a lot. And like Alex said, personas and getting the personas right has been a huge thing. We've noticed we're reaching out to fewer people now, but we're getting more opportunities. So over the last 6 months, we've seen about an 8x increase in opportunities booked from these UserGems plays.
And then I think you share something like this.
Yeah, I think the other piece that we were missing in the beginning was I was always going to BDR leadership for feedback, and I've started reaching out to the individual BDRs when they book a meeting or get a response or have a call connect and just ask them, how did this happen? What are your thoughts on the overall program and the messaging? And feedback has really improved, as you can see from this slide. My favorite is from Bo, who's just asking for more leads. So yeah, we've seen an improvement. And then, like I said, we have some BDR leaders who are still skeptical, like our customer BDR leader doesn't want us automating everything to our customers, which makes sense. So we're kind of going back and starting really small with them again before we expand and automate everything.
Great. So Alex, Frontify is mostly in Europe, so Europeans tend to be a little bit more cautious with using AI and automation. Sure. And you're in the GTM engineering and RevOps team, so how did you get the team to adopt? Because you guys have been a customer for about 5-6 months, right?
Yeah, we started in February, after, I would say, quite an expedited.
Yeah.
I think we started fully evaluating in November, so that was actually quite fast. For other AI initiatives at the company, we are still in legal and security evaluations. And I would say the sales and SDR team, they have always wanted more intelligent research and these kind of tools. But getting a Claude, what Stefan showed, is quite an effort at Frontify. But UserGems, because all of the documentation around security and everything was there, was actually kind of a fast track on getting this kind of intelligence, account scoring, and the messaging to the reps. So we launched it in February, and we have this whole harness for the messaging and the account intelligence that is fed to the reps. Yeah, something that we haven't been able to build in a more broader scale for all of the other teams. So currently,
how did you convince them to listen to you? I mean, you share like some of the wins, but like, how did you convince the BDR and the sales team to?
That was the easy part. They didn't need to be convinced. They saw the push came also from them. I mentioned before that account scoring was something that they really wanted, and we didn't really have an all-encompassing account score at Frontify. So I actually came to Stefan and challenged him quite a bit early on. Hey, how do we make the account scoring not only signal-based, but really looking at the customer base and all of this combined? So when the BDRs then saw the uprise in quality within their book of business, they were just waiting for the prospects to come out of these highly scored accounts. And then now I'm just getting the pushback, hey, you have all of these great accounts, why are you not sending the right personas within the account? So that's the challenge that we are going through, and like Zoe said, we sat also together with the BDR leaders, double checking that all of the right keywords are in the personas. And now the personas that we're sending to the SDRs from these great accounts, they start to fit more and more. And then you see this kind of stuff, like whenever we have a day where it's just UserGems opportunity created, that's really cool to see.
So it sounds like a consistent theme is like an internal marketing in a way to kind of get people to buy in. So Alex, you already mentioned like there's a setup. So just for this one, it's like a quick one. Like it's really hard being even a manager as well when you have a lot of reps. How do you know when to prioritize getting reps feedback versus like, hang on, I heard you, I'll take down that note, but I want to monitor to see if it's a trend or a one-off. Like how do you balance that? Kristen, I'll go back to you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't want UserGems or any solution that my BDRs use for them to feel like they're an end user. I want them to be an owner of the solution. And so from the beginning, we really challenge them to share ideas and share feedback. To your point about internal, kind of like PR and selling it, it's like the way in to buy in. If they're able to weigh in, they'll buy into using it more. So yes, they did share like a lot of persona feedback early on, which is like, great, thanks, I'll make the update. Absolutely. When it's very tactical and it lands squarely in their expertise, right? But I do think that some of our best plays or campaigns, like we ran a very successful industry campaign with UserGems, and those are BDRs saying we should do this, or like let's set up a funding campaign, or this retail audience. And so I don't know, I think even the negative or not so great ideas, it's still good feedback, right? And so to really drive them feeling like an owner in the solution, I kind of welcome it all. Doesn't mean I act on it all, but I do welcome it all. So,
how about you, Zoe?
We have run into a challenge, I would say, where BDRs give really vague feedback, and they'll say like, oh, this play isn't working. And we're like, okay, well, what's not working? So I think for me, I always ask for like the actual Salesforce lead link and dig into the real details of what's going on, because sometimes they'll say, you're sending a ton of bad titles, and then I ask a BDR for the report, and it has nothing to do with what we're doing in UserGems. Like, they're looking at the wrong report, or they just need re-enablement on where to focus their time. So I would say we take all the feedback in, but verify everything before we take action.
Yeah. On the personas, it's the same. I would say I prioritize two things. If it's something where I can see that the body of an email is missing, because maybe I did a change in the Jamie instruction, I forgot to change something, and it wasn't pushing into the right step in my Gong sequence. That's something I need to fix immediately because it's technically breaking. If they're coming to me and asking, I can't see certain information in the Jamie plugin, that's when like Mackenzie knows what I'm talking about, because there's plenty of open, or were plenty of open to-dos that we went through on a more week-by-week basis, because it's not something that you need to act on immediately. So I kind of differentiate between things that are stopping them to do the work, because they cannot send out an empty email, versus things where I need to talk to UserGems, hey, how does this technically work? How could we improve how some of the information is relayed back to the reps?
Got it. So to the last question, I think it's like so far the trend is like, so a lot of internal PR, get the team to buy in, believe, but also a lot of iteration. I think like with any tools, let alone AI in general, even in our daily life, there's a lot of iteration. Just keep iterating, don't just throw in the towel immediately. So the final question is about the AI, like AI impact. Almost everyone, and we'll have a lot more folks coming for the general sessions. I think the number one question everyone has is like, my CEO or my boss have an AI mandate. Everyone has to use AI. How do you report AI impact to your leadership beyond just like, I know how to use Claude now, and I have my co-work running every Monday. Like, how do you report on that? So specifically for UserGems, Jamie. So I guess I'll start with Zoe first.
Yeah, we have an executive weekly dashboard that we look at where it shows all metrics from leads to close won deals, and you can filter on event leads or digital leads or these UserGems automation leads. So that's a key component. So we can show actual ROI on that. And then I personally look at every response that we get to these campaigns because I want people bought in on this. And I'll share a really good email response, or this one was a booked meeting that I shared to our global marketing Slack channel. And just to try to highlight, like UserGems found a contact who then forwarded on the meeting or the email to someone else at the company. It's a current customer. They're looking to buy a third solution area that we sell. So it ties it back to our company goals, and just try to like anecdotally share as much as I can.
Got it. Kristen?
Yeah. Actually, in looking at this is a little out of date. We're over 20 million in UserGems attribution. I looked the other day. I proactively share this to our CEO when I meet with him, and because obviously AI is a mandate, it was for our business as well, but I just appreciate how quickly we can act on ideas, campaigns, we can iterate. We just created, on the heels of that retail play, we just launched with the help of Jeff and Jess at UserGems, a sports-focused play. And we created a whole Tiger team around it. We launched the campaign, and I learned how to build it myself. I was really proud. And that is something that's really important to our VP of sales. And so not only do I have, obviously, dashboards to show UserGems attribution, but they're really different, folks in leadership are very, they're dialed in now, and they'll even ask me, hey, can we do this with UserGems? And so
From like idea to campaign, a lot faster now, and that's part of the AI.
Yeah, and just how quickly we're able to move has been really, really exciting this year. So.
Awesome. And to wrap it up, Alex, takes us home. This is how you share, right?
Yeah, basically I take the same dashboard that probably you have from Salesforce, take the main reports, throw them all into Claude, and it spits out a nicely formatted PDF. As a brand management company, it's important that there's some kind of adherence to the brand guidelines. So it has, if it looks beautiful and on brand, that's even better. And yeah, I think leading with how much pipeline did we generate is always easy to make a case, but also taking away, okay, we identified 6,000 valuable contacts to go after, and how is the pipeline build look like? That's also important. We're not quite at the 20 million, but I'm really hopeful that by the end of this quarter, we hit the first million.
You get there.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's going to be here, so if you want to connect with anyone on the panel to get a little bit deeper behind the scene, come and find us. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks.